Hello everyone and welcome to Property Technicals How Much Will It Sell For? Episode 3. In these episodes we try to look at a number of properties and estimate how much will they sell for. The idea is if we are keeping an eye on the market in doing this, then we will have a better idea of what sort of projects we can do in the near future with a better chance of profitability. So from the properties that we looked at last week's, 110 Centaur Street is sold, and as is number 6 Roxborough Park Road. We will discuss the sold prices shortly, but first let's look at some of the new properties that we shall be following. First property we are looking at is 875 Henry Lawson Drive in Picnic Point. So it's an old house, nothing spectacular about the house itself, but it's in a presentable condition. You can live in it or rent it out, no problems. The draw of this particular property is its land, which is at over 1000 meters square, but not only that, its frontage is over 20 meters, which means it can potentially be subdivided right from the center, and each side would then be sold as individual properties, freestanding. And the developed houses, when they come into the market, I estimate they would sell for at least $1.5 million in current market prices. So, what do I think this land will sell for? I estimate that it will fetch at least $1.65 million. Next property is an interesting one as a case study. It's number 47 Western Street in Revesby. Now this particular property is a freestanding, relatively newly built property. 5 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, 2-car lock-up garage, and it has features like swimming pool and a very new flashy kitchen and so forth. Now, interestingly enough, this particular property was on the market for sale at the same time as when we did the Project Alpine V2. And the buyer who bought our property also went to this property. They bought ours over this. Which means this particular property at Western Street is not brand new. And it was actually rented out for about a year or so for $1,100. Not only that, in 2019, they attempted to sell it with a price guide of $2 million. It did not sell. So we know the expectation of the vendor. It's at about $2 million. So the auction is on this upcoming Saturday, the 13th of November. It will be an interesting one to follow. Value-wise, I think $2 million is a bit steep given that it's no longer brand new. And on top of that, last week we saw 110 Centaur Street, which had similar things to offer, but it was a duplex, right? So it had 5 bedrooms and 4 bathrooms with 1 additional toilet. Lock-up garage, swimming pool, very nice finishes and everything. We'll discuss the price shortly. However, this is offering similar things, except it is freestanding, and it's no longer brand new. So what will happen on this Saturday? That'll be an interesting thing to see. For the next property, let's go closer to the city to mix things up a little bit. So the property we are looking at is 25 Temple Street in Stanmore, so it's quite close to the city. This particular property is quintessential of what we would expect in this particular suburb. And it has been renovated very nicely. The color theme I quite like, very light filled and fresh with dark floors. The Japanese black glossy floor is one of my favorite, but that's a different story. Anyhow, 3 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. There isn't a lock-up garage, but from the rear laneway, one can bring the car in from the back. and there is a paved area for car parking. So off-street lock-up parking is available, which is quite useful for that particular suburb. The auction for this property is also this Saturday, so I'll be bringing you the sold prices in episode 4 next week. What do I believe this particular property will go for? Well, it's a little bit outside of the area where I normally operate, but I imagine that given the current market, a property of this nature should fetch 2.55. That's fairly specific, but that's what my instinct is saying. It'll probably reach or somewhere near there. So let's see what happens this Saturday. All right, time to discuss what the previous properties we looked at sold for. Starting with number 6 Roxborough Park Road. What did it sell for? Well, in the previous episode, I said that this property will touch the 2 million mark or very close to that. And what it sold for is $2,015,000. So very close to the mark on this one. Now let's look at the next property. 111 Centaur Street, the brand new duplex. And about this property, I said this will fetch somewhere between 1.6 to 1.7. And it sold for $1,750,000. So close. 27 Buckingham Road in Bochum Hills. This was the interesting block of land that they were proposing. It could be divided into 6 individual blocks of land. It's that big. And it is going on auction this Wednesday. An interesting piece of developable land and one to keep an eye on for sure. And finally, we have 86 Iberia Street in Padstow, the duplex site. So that one I said it'll sell for in between $1.8 to $2 million. But now it is still listed for sale. That means it didn't sell in auction, which is interesting. And they have now given a price range between $1.85 to $1.95 million. This is sending me some signals that if developers didn't snap it up, why? What happened? Is there anything wrong with this particular site? Is there any affectation on the land? It remains to be seen what it sells for, but let's keep an eye on it. Well, that is all for this particular episode of How Much Will It Sell For? Quick disclaimer, this video is not a financial advice video nor a advice for purchase of your next property. We are merely looking at a number of properties and trying to estimate what they might sell for. This is just to keep an eye on what's happening at the marketplace and a bit of fun. So I hope to see you in the next episode of How Much Will It Sell For? Or the other video topics that I'm going to be covering on this channel. Until then, you take care of yourself.